Welcome back, everybody. Yesterday we had a decisive final game, the game 14 of the World Chess Championship, and now we have a new world champion for India. Grandmaster Gukesh beats Grandmaster Ding Liren. It always felt from the half of the middle of the game that the game would end in a draw. It almost felt like that, but Gukesh keeps pushing the game forward in a draw mode itself, and at last, it was devastating when Grandmaster Ding Liren plays a move that he's never going to forget in his life. It was such a heartbreaking blunder for him, and Gukesh finds the right continuation to the move, and now we have a new world champion, the second world champion for India after Vishwanathan Anand, and the youngest ever world champion. It is surprising that Gukesh becomes the 18th world champion at the age of 18, and this is a great accomplishment for Indian chess. Both these years, 2023 and 24, were great years for India as India had been winning a lot of tournaments and matches in chess, and finally now a world champion also in the month of December. So let us dive into the game as let's see how the game progresses in raw mode, and last, how does Ding make a huge mistake that cost him the entire world champion title. And before going to the match, I would like to say that I have already done videos of game 11, 12 and 13. People who wish to see the analysis of those games, also please look at the analysis of the game and come back here. And as you know, till the game 13, the score was equal 6.5, 6.5, and it's a draw. So basically, the game 14 would decide everything. And instead of pushing game 14 also into a draw, Gukesh kept on pushing the game forward, trying for some luck. And guess what? The luck works, and Ding makes a mistake at the last. So this time, I am showing you the entire match because it is such an important match that happened in this entire year. Let us see. Ding with the white pieces and Gukesh with the black pieces. Ding opens with his knight and Gukesh opens with his central pawn. And now Ding moves his pawn to g3. Point being is that later on the bishop can come here and the king can castle on this side. So yes, that happens. Bishop here. And this variation where both the knights are out in this King's Indian attack. This setup is called as the King's Indian attack in the French variation. So right now, usually white has to directly castle, but instead of castling directly, Ding opens his center pawn forward. Yeah. Now the point being is that you're attacking the center. So instead of taking the pawn back, Gukesh develops by protecting his central pawn. And now Ding castles. Gukesh takes the center, and Ding takes back. Now instead of directly taking the knight and exchanging, Gukesh places a slightly different move that hasn't played much before, that is knight to e7, protecting this knight. The point being is that if this knight takes here, you take back, and black has a slightly better position in the beginning itself. So rather than taking the knight, Ding plays the most powerful move in this position by moving his central pawn forward, attacking the center. So now Gukesh has to take an exchange, takes, and Gukesh moves his knight to c6, attacking the queen. The queen has to retreat or move somewhere, and hence Ding moves his queen back to the starting position itself. The game continues, attacking the center. Gukesh develops his bishop, takes the center, takes back, and the queen cannot take this bishop because it is protected both by the knight and the queen. So all Ding can do is to develop some other piece. So Ding decides to develop his knight. The game he castles, and now the knight attacks the bishop, so the bishop has to move somewhere, and Gukesh decides to move his bishop to b6. It is not wrong, there is nothing wrong here. It can move, I think, here and here as well, or maybe here also, but the computer says that this movement of the bishop isn't that great. It doesn't lose anything, but it's still not great. Even I don't understand what is the point behind that, but it just continues. Then now Ding pushes his pawn forward, creating a good pawn structure supporting each other. Now Black attacks the knight. The knight has to retreat somewhere. The knight goes to c3, and now he attacks his knight. And finds the correct continuation by protecting his knight with the bishop. Yes. So now if he takes, you take back. And now rather than taking, Gukesh moves his pawn forward, and Ding again finds the best move at this position by protecting his knight both with his bishop and queen. Now Gukesh doesn't have any option. He just develops his bishop forward. Now Ding pushes his knight forward. The point being is that if you take the bishop, I take back the bishop, and it's completely drawn. But rather than taking here, Gukesh plays another amazing move of pushing the pawn forward, attacking the center. So what does Ding do? He takes and he takes back. Now Ding plays the move knight to f4. The point being is that, and the point happens here as well, because Ding takes his knight and he can now take back his knight again. And now they exchange the bishops. Bishop takes. Now you can see you have a very drawn position right now at move number 22. Usually in such positions, what really happens is that when grandmasters play, they shake hands and declare a draw. That's it. But here, Gukesh isn't willing to continue with the draw. He wants to push the game forward. He doesn't want to end the game in a draw. So now, as the game continues, now Gukesh protects his pawn with his rook, and now Ding attacks his queen with the rook. So the queen has to move somewhere. Gukesh moves his queen to b6, also attacking the bishop. And now the bishop has to retreat somewhere. At this moment, Ding plays the move bishop to f3. But people also suggested in the commentary that the bishop could also go to d7, because now if the bishop takes, you take back, and you have a more easily drawn position. But instead, don't know what was Ding's plan. He goes back to f3. Pawn takes, and pawn takes back. Now, rather than playing any other move, Gukesh plays the most developing move at the moment by pushing his pawn forward. Now look at this move. After Ding moves his pawn 2 steps forward, look closely. In yesterday's video, game 13, I had explained a move called as en passant, meaning when one player pushes moves for steps forward with his pawn, and his other pawn is lying next to it, the pawn can come here capturing this pawn. It's a special move and it is legal in chess. So even here, Gukesh plays en passant, continuing the game. And now Gukesh can capture with the queen or the rook, but he captures with the rook, protecting this pawn. Now the game continues with pawn development. And right now, look at the move. Ding is determined that let this game end in a draw. He's offering a queen trade. He's asking Gukesh to take my queen, then I take back, and it's already a much drawn position. But guess what? Gukesh doesn't want to draw. He tells in his mind to Ding, come on, bro. I don't want this to be a draw, and let the game move forward. So instead of taking the queen, Gukesh moves his queen to some other square, just a waiting move. And now Ding has to continue and he plays the move b4. What does Gukesh do? He takes the pawn with the queen, he takes the queen and takes back the queen. So again, you can see it is a very drawn position. Right now, any grandmasters I think would shake hands and finish off the game with a draw, but nothing happens now. So Ding determines. Sorry, what did I say? Keeps the rook to a4. Yeah. So now Gukesh has no other option. He has to take back the rook. He takes. He takes. So now see, we are down to just a rook and a bishop, which means it's a much more drawn position. But still, Gukesh doesn't allow a draw at this position and continues. Pawn. See again, Ding wants a draw. He wants to exchange the bishop. But guess what? Gukesh doesn't want. it to be a draw, he pushes away the bishop. Now this is called as a waiting move. A waiting move is when, see, now the pieces are very low on the board. It's called as an endgame. When the pieces are very low, you make um, such moves that doesn't have much meaning to it. It doesn't gain or lose anything to both the players. It just waits the game. So this is a waiting move. And now finally Gukesh starts moving his king forward. Now Ding is attacking his pawn two ways, so he has to protect this pawn some way. So Gukesh moves his bishop to g6, protecting this pawn. Now, yeah, look at this move again. Ding offers an exchange of rooks, but guess what? Gukesh again doesn't accept the exchange and he pushes the rook somewhere else, giving a check to the king. So the king has to move somewhere and moves forward. Now Gukesh plays a waiting move. Again a waiting move, pawn push, waiting move, and now he attacks the bishop. So now Ding has to protect this bishop or either move away this bishop somewhere or protect this bishop either way with the rook. So he pushes his bishop near the king. Now the king moves forward, king moves backward, waiting move, attacking the bishop now. Bishop has to move somewhere. He moves to a square, attacking the rook itself, and he attacks back the bishop. Now the bishop retreats, king forward, pawn forward, again pawn forward, a pawn exchange from Ding. Takes. Now the rook protects the bishop. Again a waiting move, king forward. Now a check from Gukesh. What does he do? He moves his king backward. Now the king moves forward, rook check, and instead of moving forward, Gukesh finds the right pattern to go this side forward. Because if king moves here, it actually weakens the position for black, and it'll be slightly dangerous for black to hold on after a few moves. So Gukesh finds the right combination of coming here. Yes, and now rook to here. It might seem like a waiting move, but it actually isn't. The reason being that king cannot come here or here because of the pawn, and if this pawn is pushed, you just have to take with the rook. So that is the meaning of this. It is not a waiting move. Continues waiting, attacking the bishop. Yeah. So this is where even my knowledge about these endgames are pretty less, but even from what I know, see here Ding plays the move bishop to a8. But instead here bishop could go here or even here or even here or even here or even here. But I don't know, moving to a8, it is not wrong, nothing's wrong. Even the computer says it's nothing wrong. But the problem is that if suppose if imagine if bishop comes here, then later on in the game he can come here, he can come here, a lot of squares where he can go to. But if you go to, sorry, yeah, if you go to a8, then the only diagonal that you can be is in here. This could end up in a dangerous position later on, though it isn't a problem now. So now the king moves, the rook moves, king comes forward. Okay, this is the most pivotal moment in the game where people were stunned. Everybody were stunned because right now, see, Ding has this problem on every single game that he's using a lot of time to make his move. So right now, Ding is under a very big pressure that he has only 9 minutes in his clock, and Gukesh was way better in time. He had 1 hour, nearly an hour in his clock. So Ding in that time pressure plays the move rook to f2. Look at the bar. Just look at the bar. What happens here? The bar all goes down, which means in a few more moves, Gukesh is going to win the World Championship title because of the single blunder alone. Oh my God, it might have been a heartbreaking moment for Ding because it not only costs him this game but also costs him the entire World Championship title. Okay, for those who haven't understood The mistake behind this move, let me explain that that right now Gukesh finds the right motion forward also. Okay, before telling the right way, let me say what all correct ways that Ding could have had. Either he could have just played some waiting move like this with bishop, something like this would make sense. Or else if he needs deliberately needs to move the rook somewhere else, he could have come here or here, sorry, or here. These are the moves that only moves that Ding had in the position to hold on. These are the four options. But that time, due to the time pressure that Ding had, he plays the move rook. The point that I feel, the commentators say various reasons, but from the basic knowledge that I have, the point, probably the reason why Ding played this rook move was because he expected to exchange the rook and finish up the game in a draw. But here it doesn't end in a draw. What happens is Gukesh finds the right combination. At this moment, Gukesh saw the move, saw the position, and he understood that he's gonna be the world champion. He looks surprised, and everybody, even we were all. I was watching live. So many people watching live from the location. Everybody stood up after this bar went down like this. Everybody stood up. Oh no, what did Ding play? Such a blunder. All now Gukesh has to do is to exchange the rooks. People are waiting. He's gonna play, and he's gonna win this game. So far, the game was in a draw, and this blunder cost Ding everything. And Gukesh looks surprised. He takes water, drinks it slowly, and makes sure that nothing is going to happen wrong. And he plays the correct move. Rook takes rook, and White has no other option. He has to take back the rook. Then what? What does Gukesh play next? He moves his bishop to d5. A great move because now, what can this white bishop? This was the point that I was telling before that see now if the bishop was either here or here, you could retreat here, sorry, here or here. If it was here, you can go here or here. But since it is in the corner, it has no other option. The bishop has to take the bishop, and the king has to take the bishop. And if you see, Black has already won this game. Black has two pawns, a king, and white has one pawn and a king. And there is no way. This is a theoretical end game that is solved already, always. Like these end games are already studied. That if one person has two pawns and a king nearby, the other person has one pawn and a king nearby, then the person with two pawns is going to win the game. So right now, what can Ding play? Ding knows he's lost. Out of desperation, he plays king to e3, and Gukesh plays king to e5. And you see the crown over here, which means right now Ding shakes hands with Gukesh and resigns the game, and Gukesh becomes the new world champion. So, in case if you don't know how this becomes a mate, is that now see now king can move only to these squares. Imagine king comes here protecting his pawn. It doesn't matter. Now all that white has to do is to push his king for sorry, is to move his king to any one of these sides forward. Imagine he goes forward, and this king cannot come here because this king is guarding the square. So imagine he goes here protecting the pawn. He moves his king here, and wherever the king goes to, imagine the king comes here. It doesn't really matter. Just push this. Uh, sorry. Yeah, the king has to come to d3, and where does this king go to? He can't come here and here because of the king. So he goes back, and now the king comes here. Yeah, now if you see, the king cannot come here and here. He has to go somewhere else. Imagine he goes here protecting the pawn. Doesn't matter. He pushes. No, king comes here attacking the pawn. What does this king do? He can move anywhere back. Imagine he moves here, he takes, and this pawn is free to move forward and becomes a queen. So that is why right at this moment, Ding resigns, and the new world champion is Gukesh. Such a moment for Gukesh, becoming the world champion at a very young age, at the age of 18, breaking all records, and a great moment for Indian chess, but such a heartbreaking moment for Ding, because just look at what happened here. Nobody, no grandmaster at such a high rating of 2,700 would ever make this blunder. But what to do? He was under such a time pressure, and after all those 14 games, he might be so tired of thinking so strong and makes this blunder. But even after all these things, one thing that you need to understand is that they might be grandmasters, but in the end, they're also humans, man. Humans are meant to make mistakes. Even though grandmasters would make mistake less than 99.9% of the time, there is still a 0.1% left because of luck and other factors. And this is where the other factors work out. Thank you. Huh. And